Good afternoon from Oakville, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I thought I would talk to you about two important concepts or words that are Sanskrit words, and it's literally Vairagya and Viveka. And although these are Sanskrit words, you might recognize them in their English translations, which is letting go and understanding. And I've learned so much about this over the last number of years, I guess, but recently a lot of this information is coming to me, excuse me, as I clarify and become more immersed in what I'm learning and wanting to share it with you too. So I want to share with you a couple of things that I came across. The first of all is a quotation that I thought was fantastic. This mind thought was fantastic. It's by Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar. And it says, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, you cannot get into yoga, union with the self, unless you drop the desires in you. So the question is, how to drop the desires? Meditation is the art of letting go of your desires, letting go of your desires. Now, a lot of people would hear those words and say, I don't want to let go of my desires. And that's fair. The nice thing is there's also lots of people that know that in various spiritual traditions or religions, a very similar thing comes up. This similar essence comes up of how when we like something, we really get attached to it. And this is that whole idea of letting go of our attachment. And it is the human mind's attachment. It's what we perceive. We look outside and we see something really good and we attach to it, whatever it is. Someone can get attached to food. Someone can get attached to relationships. Someone can get attached to possessions. Anything. Themselves, their own beliefs, their opinions, our opinions. Anyone can get attached to these different things. And so this idea of Vairagya came across this idea also, or this learning, this teaching, which said literally everyone gets Vairagya. Because a lot of people will ask, well, which one comes first, Vairagya or Viveka? And Viveka, again, is understanding. So does understanding come before letting go, or does letting go come before understanding? And it said here, everyone gets Vairagya. So Vairagya is renouncing or letting go of attachments or things that we have become attached to. And then Viveka is understanding, as I said. So it said everyone gets Vairagya when we see another person that is lost or has lost something. So even if we see the death of someone, most of us have, or experienced, or heard about, or read about, or learned about. And in that situation, so many people will talk about a person who has passed away and said, wow, this person built up so much, like they did all of this, and look at, they've got nothing. Now they're, many people will say 6 feet under, and they don't have anything with them. Like all of that, what was all that for? And all that work, and I saw them work 24/7 and so hard. But okay, at least they were really excited about what they were doing. They were very passionate and very loving that. And then sometimes we see that, survivors haven't benefited from that. So that person was so engrossed in what they were doing, because that was their passion, attached, we can say, that they might not even notice the family that's around them, attached to even a purpose. I need to help others, and again, might forget the family that's around them. And I have to be attached to my opinion, so I'm right. So even when they're very close with the family around them, it's, I'm right. That's an attachment to one's opinion. So all of this. So I read this line of Vairagya without Viveka is temporary. So imagine letting go of something without understanding is temporary. So let's say something happens in my life and I see that, let's say something very simple. I go to the doctor's office and I get told that, this blood value is very high for whatever. Let's say it could be cholesterol, it could be glucose, whichever way. I learned from the doctor, and I know I haven't really been eating so well. And I learned this from the doctor. Here's what your blood work shows. And you need to change your diet. Otherwise, I'm going to have to prescribe something to you. I've said this to clients, and I'm sure many clients have heard something like this from their practitioners in whichever lab value might have been thrown off. And you've kind of already known. I kind of know I haven't been eating so well, but I'm just going to push it and push it. And finally, the doctor says, well, I'm going to need to prescribe something to you unless you bring this down. And you think, no, just give me a few more weeks. I will definitely, I'm going to change that. I can change my nutrition. I'm going to do that. And you get going home. And on the way home, you start thinking, right after this party, after I go to the party this weekend, I know there's going to be lots of not good food. So right after that, and this is what happens again and again and again. So there hasn't really been a full understanding. There has been a readiness to let go. Well, then there's a full understanding that, wow, I might need medication and I don't want to take medication. Something as simple as that. The other thing is even we get attached to things that we have experienced. Relationships. I can talk about relationships, and I think many would understand relationships. We get into relationships because we see something that, oh, you know what, that makes me so happy, and that's exactly what I want, and that's exactly what lifts me, what brings me, it's the missing piece for my life, all of that, anything, I'm in love, anything, that person's in love, all, anything. And then we get attached to this image we've got of this relationship. This relationship will bring me happiness, everlasting and forever. And most of us have also been through the experience of, wow, how did that change? And it does. And that's because the day-to-day experience is changeable and temporary. And then there are things that are long-lasting and eternal. And so Vairagya, in terms of letting go, only comes from that understanding of there are temporary things and there are eternal, everlasting things. And this temporary dispassion is literally, I can give up food to get a better blood test, or I'll give up the food that I know brings up that value in my blood test for the week before my lab test, or for the month before my lab test. Until then, it's Christmas time, so I just need to get through Christmas. And I've heard this through so many years. And it could be around Christmas, could be around Easter, it could be around a birthday, could be around vacation, but that's the out that people often give themselves. So we will give ourselves. We've all done it. And this is interesting for us to understand that unless we're truly understanding the seriousness, and we do not have to be in a critical condition to have that understanding, then we can let go of things easy. When we truly understand that something is important, I'm too attached to this person because I now have a dependence on, unless they're here, I don't feel strong, I don't feel happy, I don't feel complete. And unless they're happy, something outside of me is happy, then I don't feel right. That's also an attachment to someone else's happiness. That's impossible because we will never be able to be consistently able to make another happy. So other people's happiness goes up and down, our own happiness goes up and down. And so that recognition of those things are transient and changeable. My own centeredness can be very steady, and I can be here. And to recognize this difference between what's real, what's truth, what's eternal and everlasting, and what is temporary and changeable allows us this beautiful experience of this Vairagya and Viveka, and truly understanding how to utilize it, because we need to have an understanding before we actually let something go from our hearts, from literally that I don't need this to be content, to be the fullness of myself. And so, of course, I came across a few more quotations that I wanted to share. First was literally just a description of this word Viveka. Viveka really means discrimination, so to discriminate or discern. So discernment, the faculty of distinguishing and classifying things according to their real properties, the power of separating the invisible spirit from the visible world, or spirit from matter. Spirit from matter. So differentiating, this is spirit, this is matter. Matter is changeable, spirit is not changeable. And truth from untruth. The truth is changeable, and unchangeable is unchangeable. And to be able to have the discernment of the difference between these two and which to put our energies into. And this came from the Center for Yoga Studies, which was, I thought, a very good description of this word. And this is, again, a Sanskrit word. I also came across this beautiful description that literally is using such a well-known description from Advaita Vedanta, which means non-dual. And lots of people know about this idea of non-dual learning, and non-dual understanding. So this oneness idea is this non-dual. So this person was also answering what Viveka means, and I just thought I'd read this out because it's so well put that I thought I'd share it with you, and I will add this at the bottom of this video so that you can read it again, but I thought I'd read it out to you for your understanding. It says Viveka means discrimination, which is properly differentiating between what is real, satya, again, these are Sanskrit words, or that which is unchanging, eternal, and exists independently, and what is unreal, mithya, that which is impermanent, ever-changing, and dependent on something else to exist. Viveka, therefore, is differentiating between the self, which is termed Atman or Brahman. The self is higher S, capital S, which is the spiritual nature, Atman or Brahman, which is one's true nature as limitless pure consciousness and existence, and not self, anatma, which is really just an illusory appearance of consciousness. So again, differentiating between self, capital S, and not self. Viveka is intended for Brahma Vidya or self-knowledge. So if you ever hear the term Brahma Vidya, it means self-knowledge, higher S, is understanding the divine natures, self-knowledge. The direct realization that I am not limited, changed, or affected by the experience of body, mind in any way. It is but an appearance. I am Brahman, ever free of change, suffering, and death. So again, remember, I am spirit. I am spirit, ever free of change, suffering, and death. A common illustration, this is what I wanted to make sure that you hear, because if you haven't heard this, you might hear it now more often, but so you understand this idea. A common illustration used to explain Viveka, Satya, and Mithya is a clay pot. In this example, the clay is Satya, the essence or nature of the pot. The pot itself is merely a form of the clay, has temporarily assumed that it is referred to as a pot. The pot, therefore, is only name and form. The pot is only name and form. So we know that the shape and the name is pot, but it's still clay. It is insubstantial in and of itself because name and form have neither added anything to the clay nor fundamentally changed the clay. That is actually nothing but the clay, and the clay is always clay, regardless of how it may appear. So again, I can change that clay into a vase and it's still clay, but I'll call it a vase. So the form and the shape has changed. It's a vase, but it's still clay. So this is clay and the pot. So this is the clay pot message that is often shared in Advaita. Recognizing that, okay, so it's just a form and appearance of the clay. It's nothing but clay, and the clay is always clay, regardless of how it may appear, is distinguishing between the inherent nature of the pot, which is clay, and the incidental, illusory, insubstantial, and impermanent qualities attributed to it in terms of name and form. Now again, this is answering what is Viveka. So Viveka is, again, it's this ability to discern that, wow, even though people, we're going to apply this to people change. There's different types of people around me, but the essence of them, the spirit, is the same for each. And yet, what they come through, someone is really an angry person, someone's really a happy person, someone is big and someone's really small, and yet the essence is the same. It's still the same clay, it's still the same essence, it's the same spirit. This is, again, the same idea as when someone gets attached to something. If we just understand this attachment happens to anything, could happen to different names and forms, to a different person's name, a different person's look, a different person's behavior, right? That's all the external superficial. The depth is the same. And so when we feel that true loving space, that's usually two souls uniting. Those two souls have recognized one another. And oftentimes we move back into the superficial name, form, and behaviors is all this name and form, the superficial aspect, and we forget the spirit. And so this is that whole reminder for us as we work through things like this Vairagya and Viveka, is to recognize I can discern between here's the spirit of the person that I'm speaking with and here is the form that is coming through. This is, of course, not as easy, or maybe I won't say of course, but this mind believes, not as easy as it may sound. It would be very easy if we were looking at 3 different plants and saying, well, they're all plants. They're all plants. I understand, and that they can have different names and forms, but they're all plants, and the essence of them is life. Very simple. Do we do that with people? Because we actually start believing some name and form that we have seen at a particular time coming from a particular space, a person, and then we expect that to be consistent, except that name and form changes even with the same person. And we know that with ourselves, we've changed over time. We have changed maybe not our name, and we've certainly changed in terms of our appearance, our superficial attributes, and our thinking has changed. So that's not even on the outside. Our thinking has changed from 10 years ago to now. My thinking has changed, and yours probably has too. But there are things about us that are very consistent and eternal. And that's the thing to remember about the spirit nature of all of us. Excuse me, while I'm still battling this cough. Last thing I want to share today is another quote from Bhagavad Gita. And this is this whole idea of non-attachment, detachment is talked about regularly, discussed regularly in the Gita. And this is, unfortunately, did not have an actual space of exact page number or which part of the Gita this came from, but I know that this is a quite essential theme from the Gita, and I hope that it will resonate for you. It says detachment from material things is the way to inner peace. Detachment from material things is the way to inner peace. Now, a lot of people know about this, and in my last video I talked about this letting go of things and how that can reflect, if we're gathering, that can reflect the stench of greed, right? So that idea. At the same time, we can also understand detachment is just a word, or non-attachment is just a word, until we understand why it is we choose to detach from something. Then even that, there's the superficial detachment. It's like, wow, someone could say I went from this really big home to a really small space, and ownership to non-ownership, and all of that. So there's detachment. Yet the true detachment is within. I was reading this great story about 2 great stories. I'll share a couple of stories. There was one story that I read about a king meeting a really holy man, and the king meets the holy man and is saluting him and said, I'm so happy to meet you, and I just can't believe I have to salute you. You've let go of so many things. You have let go of all these worldly possessions. I have to salute you. And then the holy man said, no, please, I have to salute you. I'm the one who is saluting you. It's you who has let go of much more than I have. And he said, the king thinks, what are you talking about? You've let go of everything, every material possession you had, you let go of. How are you saying that I have let go of more? And so the holy man said, well, you also let go of God. And so this is a discernment, right? So this is that spirit level as opposed to the superficial level. It's easy to let go of superficial things. If you let go of something that you don't like, it's not really letting go of anything, is it? It's like, oh, don't really like this picture on the wall anymore, so I'm going to change it. I'm letting it go. I'm actually even giving it to charity, whatever it is. I don't really like it. It's when you're letting go of something that is close to your heart, that your mind does have an attachment to. That is a different letting go. And the other story I wanted to share is about shaving heads. So monks shaving heads. And there was a story about this one monk that didn't shave his head and was a very well-learned monk, and all the other monks were saying that, wow, he doesn't shave his head, and that, I'm talking about that. And finally the monk was asked, like, why isn't it that you have to shave your head? Why don't you shave your head? You aren't doing what we're supposed to do. And the monk said, I'm shaving my mind. And this is the point. What we see on the outside, even a shaved head, even the right clothes, even the right or what your mind may perceive as right, it doesn't mean anything if on the inside that purification isn't happening, that cleaning off those layers of dirt, of grime, of judgments and opinions and beliefs, whether about ourselves or about others, of what's real and what's not real, and what we have attached to is what's not real. And then we need to, or can benefit from, shaving off all of the stuff that's not real, that the other person is different than me is one of those ideas that it's not truth, because that spirit is the same as I am. This is all of this discernment, this, again, Vairagya and Viveka, this, again, letting go with understanding. Today, I hope that you get a little bit of this information. I hope some of this makes sense to you. I also came across a great description in, I'd say it was a blog post, an article that I came across. I will find that again too, and also put it at the bottom of this video on YouTube. And I hope that you'll check it out, because it's really a very good description of this. And I hope that in this video, you've learned just a little bit. I wish you a fantastic day ahead. Thanks for watching. And remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.